Hello, my name is Dr. Shikola, and I teach the Project Lead the Way pre-engineering programs here at the Center for Advanced Technical Studies. And I'd like to go over some of my PLTW student expectations. A little bit first about Project Lead the Way, or PLTW. PLTW is considered a premier pre-engineering curriculum. The reason it's considered premier is that over 50 colleges and universities will actually give students transcripted college credit for their classwork done in high school. The schools and universities have different requirements. If you'd like to see more information about that, go to pltw.org/university-partners for the details. I teach 4 classes here at the center. The first class I teach is called Introduction to Engineering Design, or IED. IED is a foundation course in which students learn how to pose problems like an engineer, and they also learn how to use a really cool program called Autodesk Inventor, which is a 3D modeling program. Here you see a picture of some students who have created some custom jack-o'-lanterns. These students actually designed these jack-o'-lanterns inside Inventor in a 3-dimensional model. They created the plans and then they cut them out of plastic jack-o'-lanterns. Your students will be doing this year. The next class in the sequence is Principles of Engineering, or POE. It's sort of like an applied physics and design class. It builds on IED, but students learn more about how things work. In the picture shown over here, basically the students are creating a digital scale in which they're measuring the deflection of a beam, a wooden 2x4, and they're measuring it using VEX components and calculating the weight of the person who's standing on the beam, and it is then being displayed on a digital readout. The third class is Aerospace Engineering, or AE. We study aircraft, rockets, propulsion systems, satellites, and general principles of flight. This is a very exciting class. In the picture shown are students who have just completed the glider design process, and they will then compete with duration on how long their models will stay in the air. The final class is Engineering Design and Development, or EDD. It's the capstone class, and it's an invention class. Students work in groups, they come up with a problem, they design some kind of solution for that problem, and then they build it, test it, and finally present before the Engineering Advisory Committee. During these presentations, parents and families are welcome to come out as well, and it also is a very exciting time to see the students work. About your student syllabus, okay. Your students should have brought home a syllabus, and basically for each class it's organized in course description, which is basically the description out of the district course catalog, instructional goals, materials that are required. I'm providing students with engineering notebooks, and the curriculum will actually be provided online, so there's no heavy books to carry. d5.edmodo.com is where I will be listing the agendas, and mypltw.org is a porthole from Project Lead the Way, which will give them all of the course material. In the syllabus, I outline the instructional units for the various classes. I also go over the grading and weights and something I call employability. Let's take a look at those. This year, the grading scale has changed. South Carolina has adopted an A being from 90 to a 100, a B 80 to 89, C 70 to 79, D 60 to 69, and below 60 is a failure. So we will be using this scale this year. In all of my classes, my grades are in various categories, and those categories are classwork, work that's to be done during class and turned in. Homework, I'll talk a little bit about that. That will be worth 15%. I'm implementing what's called a flipped classroom. Rather than doing most of my lecture in the classroom and then assigning homework like problems for them to do at home, I will be videotaping my lectures, much like I'm doing here, The students will watch my lecture. They will have an online quiz which they can take an unlimited number of times to achieve a 100 on, and then they will come to class and there they will do the problems, and I will act sort of like a tutor where I can help them with the problems. So the homework should be really easy. It's watching a video, it's taking a quiz, and you can take the quiz. The students can take the quiz as many times as they like until they get a 100. Grade sheets. About every 2 or 3 weeks I'll be sending grade sheets home. They are to be signed and brought back, and that constitutes 10% of their grade. Notebooks and presentations. As they record the information in their engineering notebook, I on occasion will go over those notebooks and give them a grade. Students will be doing presentations in class. They also, towards the end of the semester, will be doing presentations where you will be invited to come out and witness the work that the students are doing. All of those presentations will go into the notebook and presentation category. Employability, these are some soft skills. I'll talk a little detail later. The quizzes, students will be taking online quizzes in the classroom. Those quizzes will be the same quizzes that are done in the homework. Now, as I do these quizzes, the questions are randomized, so the order is basically changed every time the question is done. So if the student practices the quizzes at home, they should be guaranteed a 100. Finally, exams will be worth 20%. The way the overall course is graded is for the first half of the course will be worth 40%, the second half will be 20%, and the final exam, part of which will be from Project Lead the Way, will represent 20% of the total grade. I will also provide part final exam that I will write. About the grade sheets. As I mentioned, about every 2 weeks I will be sending home grade sheets. The student takes them home, you get to see how your student is doing, sign it, bring it back, and I'll enter that as a 10 out of 10. Something you need to know about my grade sheets: if you see your student has a 0, it means they were absent and the work can be made up without penalty. If the student did not do work on time, then basically I will put down a 1. If the student chooses to make up the work, they will get half credit. But basically they had been given the time, they didn't do it, therefore if they do it, they will receive partial credit. With regard to makeup work, all makeup work must be completed 2 days before the end of a grade submission cycle. So if a student is missing work, they can make it up to 2 days before the end of a quarter, end of a semester, end of the year. Employability. This was another category that I had listed. For each class, a student will be given a point. On the grade sheet, the first categories you're going to see listed will be attendance, then punctuality, attitude, teamwork, etc. Each class, the student gets a 1 or 0 for each of this. Attendance is, students cannot be penalized for missing class. If they're sick, they couldn't make it. What I'm asking students to do is, if they are sick, to email me or message me through Edmodo before class. Just as if they were employed, if they weren't going to work, they would have to tell their employer that they're not showing up. I want the students to be able to do that. Punctuality, not coming late to class. If we go out to break, make sure that they return with all the students. Attitude and cooperation, doing things I asked the first time. Teamwork is working with fellow students. Integrity, a student's word is what they do. Prepared for class, they should have their engineering notebooks, a pen, and a pencil. With regard to calculators, we are in a computer lab. Students can use the calculator on the computer or Excel. Respectful, being respectful to myself and fellow students. Safety and general housekeeping, leaving the room suitable for the next class. Self-management and initiative, starting once they're released to do work, starting on their own and getting work done. And then finally, dress. The only requirement I have is that students have to have closed-toe shoes. That's a requirement of the center. They need to be appropriately dressed, of course, but when they come into my class, closed-toe shoes. monitoring your students' progress. Okay, the work that's assigned for your student, I will be doing through Edmodo. So d5.edmodo.com is where all the students will basically understand what's assigned for any given day. If a student is absent, all they need to do is log in and see what work was assigned, and it's there for them. To know what grades have been assigned, PowerSchool Parent Portal, going to powerschool1.letsrich5.org, parents can create an account there and you can see the students' grades. As I update the grades, they go live. Also, we're using STEM Premier. A little bit more about that. It is a digital portfolio showcase in which students will upload their best work throughout the semester. Setting up a Parent Edmodo account. It's fairly easy. What you will need, though, is your student to provide you with a parent code. So the student will log into Edmodo, and when they log in, if they look down at the lower left-hand corner of their screen, it has the parent code. Get that parent code from your student. Then from there, you will go to d5.edmodo.com. Okay, click on the parent, and this will come up with a screen where you can generate your parent account. You'll use that parent code in which the student has given you, enter relationship, first name, last name, email, and password, and you will be good to go. You can see all of the assignments that the students have to do. Setting up a PowerSchool account, you will need to get an access ID and an access password for your student, and it will be obtained from your student's home school. You will go to powerschool1.letsrich5.org, and this is the screen you will see. Click on Create Account. Then, when you do this, you will see this will come up. Fill in first name, last name, email, your desired username, password, and then the student showcase the student ID information and access password from the home school will be entered in here, and you basically will have access to your students' grades. Finally, I want to talk a bit about STEM Premier. If your student has had me in the past, they already have a STEM Premier account. If they haven't, they will generate a STEM Premier account in my class. STEM Premier is a digital portfolio showcase in which students can put their best work. This semester, your student will be generating work they will be proud of. It happens every year, and this will be no exception. What STEM Premier does is it allows students to put their work out there in a social network, but unlike a regular social network such as Facebook where you access friends, basically this will be a social network between your student, schools, universities, and employers. Employers can look at students to help determine if they fit a particular job requirement or are suitable for a particular school. Also, STEM Premier will provide information such as scholarship opportunities and how to improve their skills. This is an excellent platform which we will be utilizing and posting our best work in. I thank you for taking time to listen to me, and this is going to be a great school year. Thank you.